Thank you for joining this lesson. We're going to discuss relative speed. A bus left Bondo at 8 a.m. and traveled towards Kisumu at an average speed of 80 kilometers per hour. At 8:30 a.m., a car left Kisumu for Bondo at an average speed of 120 kilometers per hour. Given that the distance between Bondo and Kisumu is 400 kilometers, calculate part A, the time the car arrived in Bondo. So for the car to arrive in Bondo, we need to consider the distance between Bondo and Kisumu, then the speed of the car and the time it started. So for us to get the time of this car to travel, we need the distance and the speed, in which case we have a distance of 400 at a speed of 120 kilometers per hour, and this is going to give us 400 over 120. This gives us 3 hours and a third. So the third of an hour can be multiplied with 60 to give us 20 minutes. 3 hours 20 minutes, and the journey for the car began at 8:30. So 8:30, we add 3 hours 20 minutes, we're going to have 11. So 11:50 a.m. of the same day is when the car arrived at Bondo. The time the two vehicles met. Now this is where relative speed comes in. For the vehicles to meet, they have to cover a relative distance using a relative speed at a given relative time. So we're going to have, before the car started the journey, the bus had traveled from 8 a.m. up to 8:30 for 30 minutes. So 30 minutes is half an hour. So we want to see the distance the bus has already covered before the car began its journey. So half at a speed of 80, this will give us 40 kilometers. Now, 40 kilometers had been covered by this bus before the car had started. This means now at 8:30 a.m. between the two vehicles, we got a relative distance of 400 minus 40, which gives us 360 kilometers. This is a relative distance at 8:30. This means now we're gonna consider the relative speed, whereby when vehicles are going in opposite directions, we add their respective speeds. Their respective speeds are 80 and 120, giving us 200 kilometers per hour. This is the relative speed. Now we're going to have the relative time, which is the time taken to cover the relative distance. So relative time will be relative distance out of relative speed. So the time here is going to be 360 out of 200. We get 1 hour and 0.8 hours. So 1.8, we can convert the 0.8 by multiplying it with 60 to give us 48 minutes. So to cover the relative distance, we need 1 hour, 48 minutes. So now it means the time they are going to meet is from the time they began traveling 8:30, when they were both in motion, they will meet after 1 hour, 48 minutes. So when I add this time, I'm going to get 78 minutes, which means I'll remain with 18 minutes and I carry 1 hour to this side. So I'll have 10:18 a.m. the same day. That is when the two vehicles gonna meet. Next is the distance from Bondo to the meeting point. So from Bondo to the meeting point, we're going to consider one of the vehicles. We can consider the car. Considering the car, we're going to say the vehicles are meeting at a distance which is equal to the time they will take to meet is 1.8 hours, and the car is moving at 120. So 1.8 times 120, this gives us 216 kilometers. 216 kilometers. But now the car is from Kisumu. So the meeting point from Bondo, if the car from Kisumu the car has traveled 216 kilometers, and it's towards Bondo, which is at a distance of 400 kilometers total. So now the remaining distance to Bondo from where the two vehicles are meeting is going to be the difference now. 400 minus the 216, we get 184 kilometers. We can also alternatively consider the bus. In this case, we're going to talk of the bus is meeting the car after 1.8 times its own speed, which is 80. 1.8 times 80, we are getting 144 kilometers. But now, even if the bus is from Bondo, before taking 1.8 hours to meet the car, it had covered earlier a 40 kilometers distance. So we add that distance here to conclude. Again, we are having 184 kilometers to the meeting point from Bondo. Finally, we are taught to calculate the distance of the bus from Kisumu when the car arrived in Bondo. Car is arriving at 11:50 a.m. We want the distance of the bus from Kisumu when the car arrived. So distance of the bus from Kisumu, we can calculate the distance this bus has already traveled by 11:50, because the bus started traveling at 8 a.m. exactly. So from 8 a.m. to 11:50 when the car will be arriving, how long has the bus been traveling? So this is 50, and this is going to be 3 hours 50 minutes. So for 3 hours and 5 out of 6, or 50 out of 60 hours, this is the time the bus has been traveling, and it is going at a speed of 80 kilometers per hour. So we can get the distance it has covered. So distance moved by the bus will be given by the time it has been in motion times its speed. So from 8 until the car arrived, we have 3 hours 50 minutes. So 3 hours and 50 over 60 by the speed of 80. This is going to give us a distance of 306 2/3 kilometers. And now this is from Bondo. So from Kisumu, we're going to have the difference now. 400 minus 306 2/3. So when I take 400 and I subtract this figure, I'm going to have 93 kilometers and a third. This is from Kisumu. Thank you for following. Subscribe and share.